Hey guys, welcome back to How the Light Gets In. So today I want to talk about perpetual maintenance. And because I'm me, I'm going to start that by telling you a story. So in 2006, right after I graduated from high school, I got really lucky and got to take a 2-week tour of Mexico, which is just as badass as it sounds. So we went to Mexico City, we went to Merida, we went to all sorts of Aztec and Mayan ruins, and then got a little beach time at Isla Mujeres too. It was great. But while we were in Mexico City, we were staying at this hotel, which was like right on the Zocalo, which is the city center there. So our hotel was literally across the street from the National Palace. Very cool. But anyway, in that same Zocalo is the Metropolitan Cathedral in Mexico City. So this church has been built in bits and pieces dating back to like the mid-1500s. Unfortunately, what you may already know is that Mexico City is built on a lake. And as its residents use up its water table gets really unstable and stuff is sinking into the ground, including this beautiful cathedral that's been there for, 500 years. So at the time that we were there, this is what I was told by our tour guide. So I did try and Google this and verify that it's still happening, but I couldn't find any proof that A, it's happening now, or B, it was happening when I was there. So it's very possible that my tour guide lied to me. However, it's a really good story, so I'm telling it anyway. So basically, because the National Cathedral was sinking into the ground, and it was sinking really unevenly, so parts of it were starting to tilt and they were worried it was going to collapse. Also in my research, I learned that apparently there's an endangered monuments list in the world, and the Metropolitan Cathedral was on the endangered monuments list for a long time. So to prevent this sinking, or at least to get it sinking on a more even level, there is a construction crew that works every single day shoring up the foundation of the Metropolitan Cathedral. And that's all they do. They work around the outside of the building over and over again, making sure that the foundation stays stable and that the Metropolitan Cathedral stays there for people to go and visit. It's one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen in my life. I'm not Catholic, but I can absolutely appreciate the religious experiences that must happen in that cathedral. And as you can probably tell where I'm going, your mental health is a lot like the Metropolitan Cathedral. We are all constantly sinking because life is hard and being a person is hard, and living the way that we have to live now is really hard. So you have to get in the habit of, forming your own construction crew and working around the outside of your own building all day, every day, to make sure that if you're sinking as slowly as possible. This is especially true if you have a chronic mental health condition. And part of the reason it was really important for me to do this video and do this video early is that this is the life that I live. I have chronic depression and anxiety. It comes and goes. I've had 2 really good years at this point, but it might dip at any moment. I don't know. So every single day of my life is me shoring up those foundations and making sure that things are as good as they can possibly be in case my brain chemistry decides to ruin my day again, because that could happen at any time. And I know from working with a lot of people who struggle with chronic mental health conditions, chronic depression, chronic schizophrenia, chronic anxiety, severe trauma from the past, all those sorts of things can create these waves of existence where things are okay and then they're terrible, and then they're okay and then they're terrible, or they're just terrible for a really long time. And I know how easy it can be to get really frustrated and really hopeless when that's the way that you have to live your life. So for about 3 years early in my career, in addition to my full-time job out in the rural communities where I was doing regular therapy and doing crisis intervention, on my weekends I was doing crisis intervention in Wichita at our local crisis center. And that for me looked like 20 to 30 extra hours at night and on the weekends where I was taking phone calls from people who were really struggling, or people were coming in who really needed help right now. And what I would hear over and over and over again from those people is that, coping skills don't work. Now, if you've never heard the term coping skills are the stuff that therapists teach you so that you can deal with difficulty. When your brain's being a dick to you, or life is just really hard, or you can't stop crying, or whatever thing you are struggling with, coping skills are things that help you kind of pick those pieces up, and if not totally rebuild, at least kind of keep them all in the same pile. So coping skills include things like exercise, eating well, if you're really upset, take a shower, because that seems to kind of reset us a little bit. Coloring, art, writing, music. Honestly, I could make a coping skills list for about 14 hours, and I don't know how useful that is for you. But there's a lot of stuff available. Anyway, so people would tell me in these times of crisis, well, my coping skills aren't working. And initially, I just kind of accepted that at face value, because if you're telling me that the tools that you have are not useful to you right now, well, then we better find something else. But after hearing that, day after day after day for, a year, I started to wonder if maybe the problem wasn't that people weren't conceptualizing the word working correctly. Because a coping skill is not designed to make everything fine. It's not designed to fix the problem that you're dealing with. It's not designed to suddenly make your brain not be anxious anymore. A coping skill is designed to help you cope. And all that cope means is get through. So maybe their coping skills weren't making their suicidal thoughts go away. And maybe their coping skills weren't, suddenly making them not hallucinate. Or their coping skills weren't, making them not be in the midst of a serious depressive episode. But their coping skills were still helping them get through. They were helping them pass that time of feeling terrible and trying to pursue the other side of that. And that's what I mean when I say perpetual maintenance. Because the human brain and the human body are not just like good to go A-okay. We wear and we tear internally and externally in ways that you can see and ways that you can't. I think this is especially true in my profession because we all love what we do. Therapists became therapists because we wanted to help people, because we're invested in the well-being of the people who choose to come to us. And we all treat that like the absolute gift that it is. And it is a gift. I routinely have to thank the universe that this is where I wound up, because I have the perfect job for the person that I am. However, there are times where that gift is less of a gift and more of a mental cheese grater that's just kind of abrading my sense of self and my optimism and my perception of the world and how good or bad it might be. I have to constantly work on remaining grateful and glad and joyful about what I do. Because if you come in and sit in my office and my attitude is, this is the worst and I want to go home, I'm not going to be of any use to you. My attitude has to always be, I'm glad you're here. How can I help you? I want to do whatever I can. And that's where that perpetual maintenance kicks in. It's constantly shoring up the foundations and making sure that I am in the best mental place I can be in to do my job, to be a friend, to be a partner, to be in the world. And that's not to say that you can't have a bad day. We all do. I yelled at a dude at a McDonald's in York, Nebraska a few years ago. Not a proud moment for me, but it was a bad day and he was in my way. Doesn't excuse my behavior, but my perpetual maintenance was a little lacking that day. So the point of all of this, I think, ultimately, is that you need to be both diligent and patient in your maintenance. And that means even when your coping skills don't feel like they're working, remind yourself what working means. Because they're not ever going to solve all your problems. They may sometimes make you feel better, but they're not always going to do that either. What they will do always is be a way for you to constructively spend difficult time and get through that difficulty to the other side. More than anything else, I think what everything in mental health boils down to is how incredibly important it is that you be kind to yourself and that you be patient with yourself. I can absolutely promise that no one is out there in the world 100% nailing it all the time. It's what I thought when I first started my career. I was 24 years old when I got my license, and I, like so many clinicians before me, was young and hopeful, and I was going to save the world. I think that lasted for about 6 weeks before I realized that A, that's not my role in the world, and B, if that's the goal I was trying to pursue, it was going to be a real rough ride my whole career. I had this idea in my head that there were healthy people and then there were sick people, and my job was to take these sick people and make them healthy. And that's just not the dichotomy that exists. Everyone struggles. Everyone has days where they don't feel okay. Everyone has a little voice in their head that kind of thinks they suck and isn't shy about saying it. So be patient and be kind. And when that little voice rises up in the back of your head and tells you that you suck, remind yourself that it's wrong and it's the one that sucks, because that's what's actually happening. Be diligent and be patient. I promise that you will get through it. So, if you like what I had to say today, check out my other videos. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you think I'm stupid, leave it in the comments. You can also get in touch with me on Twitter at htglivids, or you can reach me by email at howthelightgetsin@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.